Let's talk about Amani Toomer.
It's not the Tuma.
Because he was asked on ESPN radio about Strahan and everything with the Fly Eagles fly comment he had and the eagle, the flag he was flying there, the Eagles flag, and the pregame show there. And I kind of expected that, obviously. I think any former Giant who's on there is going to be the first questions on any of the shows right now. He was on Bart and Carlin. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. I've been not living in the New York area anymore. I don't know any of the ESPN radio or WFAN shows anymore. But he said, that's a shot across the bow. That's a warning shot. We want results. We want to be proud of the organization that we shed blood, sweat, and tears for. We're not just going to wave the pom-poms. If we don't feel like it's a product that's worth, we don't feel that, where we go? Well, I got lost here. We don't feel it's a product that's worth waving the pom-poms for. That's why we're holding them accountable like they held us accountable for 13 of my years and for 15 of Strahan's years. So don't be mad at that. Don't let the anger fall away from where it should be. He's not wrong, guys.
No.
We said it when it happened. Like, Strahan supporting a friend. I have no problem with it personally. But I also hold a double standard because I got to admit freely I do, because I get upset when like somebody who calls themselves a Giants fan is like, oh, I'm rooting for the Eagles, the Super Bowl because of the Barkley. Like, to me as a fan, you don't ever do it. But as a player, I don't know, I hold it a different standard because they weren't necessarily Giants fans. They just played for the team.
Correct.
That doesn't make them where they have to have the same fandom that a guy who chose that. Like, there's a difference.
It's like saying you work for Ford, you retire from Ford, but sometimes you drive home in a Dodge. Like, it's your personal choice. Just because you work somewhere doesn't mean you have to always be the fan of the product that you work for.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's plenty of people who aren't fans, obviously, of the teams that they go ahead and play for. I mean, let's be honest. We've talked about Micah Parsons for a while as being a guy who, has been rumored to one day play for the Eagles because that's supposedly where he wanted to play. If you listen to a lot of people, and obviously he played for Penn State. He's got ties there to the Philadelphia and Pennsylvania area as a whole. So, like, if he ever went to go play for the Eagles when his time is up with the Cowboys, is he supposed to get blamed for that? Like, he didn't get picked where he got drafted.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just feel like the whole thing's a little crazy that we hold players to that kind of standard. We shouldn't. Now, if you want to sit there and, like, let's say he like comes out afterwards, says, I'm a full-on Eagles fan and blah blah blah, and I'm rooting for them from the get-go, and wears like the jersey and stuff, like, that's a different scenario, I could say. But I have nothing wrong with him going out and supporting a guy that he was friends with for years, that he kind of took under his wing when the guy was a Giant. There's nothing wrong with that. So Carl Banks responded to Strahan's actions and Toomer's comments on X, saying, he's not lying. Michael can speak for himself. I do know that none of us are pleased with the state of the Giants. Now, guys, it's bad.
Carl Banks.
Like, Carl Banks, who's literally employed by the Giants, is saying things. Like, that's bad. And that just shows you how bad things have gotten. And you got to wonder, is it going to be now where the Giants ex-players kind of force change? Where they come out publicly like that and kind of force that change? Because that happened with fans sometimes. Like with the whole Joe Judge thing. He dug his own grave with his like 20-minute press conference he had for the Bears game late in the season. And obviously the kneeling down on, deep in their territory didn't help him either. But a lot of it was also the fans just being upset and the fans stopping to show up. And I thought, honestly, that would cause an issue this offseason because of all the fans not showing up and, tickets being $10 a piece. or whatever they were going for, like $9 or $8 in StubHub. StubHub fee was more than the freaking ticket probably. But
yeah, you could buy 4 tickets cheaper to park in that stadium.
That didn't make a change. So maybe that's what it takes, is some of these guys that were veterans that are well respected, not just by fans, but by the team, to sit there and say, you know what? This ain't enough. Like we deserve better with the team that we, went ahead and gave our blood, sweat, and tears to. And point blank, I couldn't blame them whatsoever if they did that. I think it's overdue. I mean, you saw the one game where they had the 100th, season special and stuff like that. And, Taylor was out there afterwards saying how those guys there could have beat the current team.
That
was him kind of starting the ball in this whole thing. Now you got Strahan waving a flag to the Eagles. You got Toomer backing him up. You got Banks backing him up. Like that's kind of craziness. That's kind of chaos here.
Especially Banks that's like the I said the cake of this. Like you talk LT, like all right. The reason why he's still in that circle is because who he is, because he's the best defensive player that's stepped on that field. Otherwise, he's always been a loose cannon, and the Giants know that. So it's like, things are going to be said. So then when you go to, like, talking about Strahan putting it up, like, yes, he's a face of media. He's a face of Fox. And kind of like you said, he can root for wherever he wants. But also, he's working for a network that's hosting, the Eagles and Kansas City. And he's going to have to choose a team. If it's the Cowboys, it was kind of the same thing. Like, he's allowed to wave that flag because it's the network he's working for. He's probably have to wave one of those flags.
Well, again, I think it's different when you wave the flag. Like, he's waving the flag while interviewing a player that he knew and was friends with for years. It's a different scenario. It's like, I'll put it like this way, and I'm just using this as an example because I'm trying to think of a top end running back that's changed teams. Do you not think the Titans players were rooting for Derrick Henry? Do you not think that, like, years ago when Emmitt Smith went to go play for the Cardinals, the Cowboys players didn't root for Emmitt Smith?
100% they did.
Like, I don't think that's an issue. I really don't. And again, I get it. And I hold the fans to a different standard. It's different because you're a fan. You're not a guy who just happened to play for that team. And I think you also deserve a little more give, I guess, for lack of a better term, when you literally gave 15 years to the franchise. I mean, I don't think there's any questions about the kind of efforts Michael Strahan gave to this team. I mean, the guy didn't even want to play the last year he played when he won that Super Bowl. He did not want to play, guys. Let's be very frank. And he came back one more time for his teammates. Thank God for himself he did, because he got him the ring. And honestly, considering the post-career he's had, he might have had that if he didn't get that ring. Definitely helped him. It's a little different going in as a Super Bowl champion than it is just going in as a player. But like I said, I'm glad players are speaking up. I hope more players speak up. I hope this becomes a tradition, because it's quite obvious that the fans aren't even listening to it anymore. Point blank, because if the fans were listened to, Shane and Dave would have been gone.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead. Solve that. Yeah, but let's go ahead and hope that former players can go ahead and get a change. Like, let's get Carson to go in there to talk to Mara. A guy like that would be a guy that Mara would listen to. So we'll see what happens there. But like I said, I'm glad to see former players speaking up, because someone's got to.
If you like that clip, then you will love the full episodes too. Find us on your favorite podcast app and look for us on all your favorite social media platforms.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.